Hi YouTube, I'd like to introduce you to our latest family members. This is Snootle and Snouter. These are nine-banded armadillos. Snootle is the one at the front, she's the female, and Snouter's the one at the back, the male. They're an unrelated pair, and these guys are about half grown at the moment. They get pretty big, but I'm really looking forward to that. And also they can breed at about a year of age, so they grow really quite quickly. And when they give birth to quadruplets that are identical, so they'll either have 4 male babies or 4 female babies. I've kept armadillos for, well, I've kept an armadillo for about 7 years now, but my other armadillo is a three-banded armadillo named Herbie. So he's the type that can curl completely up into a ball. He's quite a bit smaller than these, and the scientific name for the three-banded armadillo is Tolypeutus tricintus, whereas the scientific name for these guys is Dasypus novemcinctus. And if you want to see any videos of Herbie, the three-banded armadillo, I've got quite a lot of them on this channel as well, so I'll leave a link at the end of this video so you can check him out. He is really ridiculously friendly. What I found with these two already is that the female is not quite as friendly as the male. The male quite likes having his head rubbed, a bit like how Herbie does, and I really like that. It kind of he seems affectionate, just like Herbie, which I like. You can see that they've got little tears in their ears, and I think they just get that, you know, by being in with the parents. Maybe the parents kind of nibble their ears a little bit when they're young, but I think it actually adds to their character. So in the background there you can just see their nest box. It's just a massive plastic tub with a hole in it, and it's all full of Timothy hay. So they go in the hole and they snuggle up together and they keep really nice and warm in there during the day. That is in a very large enclosure as well, so they can come out, have a lot of good exercise and wander about. You can see here they get through a lot of mealworms, so even my other armadillo, Herbie, will eat a tub of mealworms every day. This little tray that you can see here, that represents a whole tub of mealworms, like a standard sized tub of mealworms. So I reckon these guys will probably get through 2 tubs of mealworms every day. At the moment anyway, they're probably even more when they're larger. So that's what they eat, but I'm also giving them the same mix that I give Herbie as well. So they have a dog food bowl which is full of wet dog food, but it's got to be high protein wet dog food, and it's got to be grain free. And I also give them dry cat food biscuits, but they're really tiny cat food biscuits because you don't want them getting stuck in their mouth or anything. And again, it's got to be really high protein, and then I mix that with grated carrots, grated cucumber and various tropical fruits and things, and then you can add on top like Nutribal, which is a vitamin and mineral supplement. It's kind of like a white powder. I also add that on top of all the mealworms. You can probably just see it if you look closely at this video. That's really essential because these guys grow so quickly, reach full size in a year. You need to make sure they get all the vitamins and minerals they need so that they don't develop any kind of bad things like metabolic bone disease and that kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to breeding these one day. I've wanted to breed armadillos for such a long time, but I've been trying to track down a female to go with Herbie, the three-banded armadillo, and I just haven't had any luck. So when these guys came up for sale, I just jumped on them. I thought, I've got to have them, and I'm so glad. Like, I didn't think that I would like them anywhere near as much as I like the three-banded armadillo, because they'll always be my favourite, partly because they can curl into this complete ball, but I just like the shape of them. Like Herbie looks like a really cute little old man. He looks sort of wise or something. Also, these, because they're a bit bigger, they cause a bit more havoc, and they're a bit smellier, I've noticed already. But I don't mind that because, you know, I've always wanted to keep armadillos. They're like my favourite animals on the whole planet. And so I don't mind, you know, having to clean them out every so often and that kind of thing. But it is something to consider. You know, if you're ever considering getting an armadillo, it's not as easy as you think. You've got to, it's a labour of love, basically. You've got to love them. And obviously that, if that day ever comes where I manage to breed these guys and I've got 4 little baby armadillos in the enclosure with them, it's going to be one of the happiest days of my life. I know that already. But you've got to put the work in. So just feeding them every day, preparing their food dishes, cleaning them out constantly, you know, replacing the Timothy hay when it needs replacing, and also the electricity bills, you know, keeping them warm. It's not something you should rush into. Yeah, I was saying earlier that I didn't think I would end up liking these as much as the three-banded armadillos, but they've really grown on me. I like them so much more than I thought I would. They're great little characters, and actually just seeing them walking around my living room floor is quite surreal when I first got them, especially because I've seen TV programs with armadillos on so many times, and you know, you see them kind of walking across roads and that sort of thing, and you know, wandering about in their natural habitat. And so the shape, the familiar shape of an armadillo and the kind of the silhouette outline of them as well, and then suddenly seeing that in your own living room, wandering about, behaving in such an armadillo way, is, yeah, really quite surreal. But I just think they're really cool, like really cool animals. Obviously it would be amazing to be able to keep all the different species of armadillo. I really love giant armadillos, but they're obviously massive, and I really love the little pink fairy armadillo. That's another good one. Other ones that you can buy that are seen for sale occasionally, there's the 6-banded armadillo. There's another one called a screaming hairy armadillo, which, you know, you could buy just for the name. It's such a cool name. How much they scream, I don't know. I like to think they would just do it in the wild, you know, if there was a predator or something around. You'd hope that if you kept one as a pet, it wouldn't be screaming all the time. Another important thing to think about if you are considering buying an armadillo as a pet is that you make sure that they are captive bred in the place where you live. So these were captive bred in the UK, and the other thing with this particular species, which makes it seem more kind of morally okay to keep them, is that in the states where they live, they're actually widespread, and they're actually increasing in their distribution. They're heading, you know, further north and further south all the time, and in actual fact, in some places, in some states in America, they've considered actually culling them because there are so many of them. So it's really nice that there's a species that is kind of on the increase in the wild. You don't hear that very often anymore. Most of the animals that you hear of are in decline or heading for extinction. It's always bad news. But with these guys, yeah, they're doing really well in the wild. They still obviously get run over by cars. One of the reasons they get hit by cars apparently is that if they get really scared, they jump quite high into the air, like 2 or 3 feet up in the air. So if a car comes along, quite often a car will just drive straight over them and not hit them, you know, they go underneath. But if they get scared, they leap up, and if they leap up, they can actually hit the underside of the car as it's moving, and that's one of the things that ends up killing them, unfortunately. Obviously, if an animal is captive bred, it means that they've known humans all of their life. I mean, obviously they know their parents as well, because their parents have to wean them when they're very young. But they've heard the noises of humans around them at the same time. Probably, you know, a human has kind of touched them and, you know, picked them up a few times as well when they're really, really young. So they get used to just human company, and it doesn't stress them out. Whereas obviously, if you just capture an animal from the wild and expect to kind of keep it as a pet straight away, it's probably not going to make a good pet, because it's so used to kind of its life in the wild that coming into captivity is totally different for it. These guys have only ever been around humans, and like I say, they seem quite friendly already, so I think they're going to be good, and I think they'll only get better because they're still really very young at this stage. I think these can live to about 15-20 years old. The three-banded armadillo that I keep can live as much as 36 years. So again, they're a labour of love, and you've got to be prepared for an animal that you're going to be keeping for a very long time. So between the two of them, it's going to take them 12 minutes to eat this entire tub of mealworms. I've been told that they can have chicken hearts as well. That's quite a kind of a cheap way of getting a lot of high protein into them. So I'm going to try and order a whole load of chicken hearts, and then you can keep them in the freezer and just defrost, you know, several at a time. I think you've got to chop them up quite small for them as well, though. That's the thing with these, they've only got very small kind of fronts to their mouths. They don't have any teeth at the front though of their jaw, which is good because it means that even if they wanted to bite you, they probably couldn't. Oh, one of the other reasons that they're doing so well in the wild is because they carry leprosy and they carry rabies, so people quite often leave them alone. There are places I think where people still eat them and that sort of thing, but generally speaking people leave them alone because they don't want to get leprosy. These ones in captivity, obviously there's no risk of them giving me leprosy, so I'm okay. Incidentally, hit subscribe if you want to see more videos of these guys in the future, and if you want to see more videos of my other armadillo Herbie, check those out. I'll leave a link at the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.